What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. I am, of course, your host, Ethan Smith, who does the most on the ticker on the bottom. You can follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates. Of course, you guys have been slamming that Twitter button over at the Locked On Pirates page over there. You guys have been doing a phenomenal job at that. But on today's episode, Gary Morgan is back from his extended vacation, where I joked with him earlier saying he needs to go back to Hilton Head so the Pirates can keep winning 8 out of 12 games. But on today's episode, we're going to talk about the progression of this team, how it's progressed and where it's come from, why prospects are not going to stop coming up, and why Travis Swaggerty's call-up should even be more important than it already is, and a plethora of other things going on around in the Pittsburgh Pirates world that we love to talk about here on the Locked On Pirates podcast. And of course, before you listen, if you want some betting advice, go to Locked On Bets. Make sure you use Bet Online for all of your betting advice, and maybe bet on the Pirates to win the series against Detroit starting tomorrow. But with that said, let's get into today's episode.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And just like Slim Shady, guess who's back? Back again. It's Gary Morgan, back on Monday. Gary Morgan Monday's returning. Of course, today is June 6th. I keep losing track of the physical day number that it is. I just know what day it is based off of the Pirates schedule. But as I just told everybody, Gary, you need to go back to your vacation spots, man. Every time you go to your vacation spots, some good things start happening. But how are you, man? How are things going over there in Gary Morgan's world?
I'm good, man. Just trying to catch up from being away for a week. But, but I was able to keep up with the team and certainly did well while I was out. So, yeah, no complaints.
Oh, yeah, and I think well is definitely an understatement in a sense. I mean, when you win 2 series against the Diamondbacks and sweep the Dodgers, I think there's a very, very big reason to be happy about things going on, especially with the plethora of call-ups the Pirates have seen over the past couple weeks. A lot of this people think stems from when Derek Shelton talked to the team after the 18-4 loss to the Cardinals. Since then, they're 8-4. Since then, you've seen a lot of guys get called up. I'm not sure if that's why that's happening, but I will let people believe what they want to believe. But one thing that me and you have definitely had on your mind about all this is if you're looking up and down this roster now, due to injury, due to call-ups, there's rookies everywhere. I mean, it's like Oprah Winfrey said, you get a rookie, you get a rookie, you get a rookie. Like, literally, that's what this team is right now. How did we get here for people that may not know, Gary?
I mean, we got here because we were always going to get here. That's what this year was going to be. It may be a little earlier than I thought it would happen, but I definitely thought it would happen this year. I thought we would see a youth movement in 2022. It's undeniable now. It's fully on. And, to their credit, a lot of the rookies have taken hold. And to the Pirates' credit, they're giving guys looks that, in the past, I think they might have maybe pulled the trigger on saying this isn't working out earlier. Like Jack Sawinski, for instance. Batting average was pretty bad. It's climbing now, but it was pretty bad there for a while. He's showing some pop. He looks professional. He looks the part. He's playing the field well. But to their credit, they kind of ignored that batting average for a minute and just let him keep swinging. They let him keep playing. They let him play every day. Castro came up here. They let him play every day for a long time there, a couple weeks. And, ultimately he proved that he needed a little more seasoning in their minds. They sent him down. I think that's what we're going to see the rest of this year. A lot of that shuffling of people and trying different folks out and seeing who works where. And I think we're going to see less of that kind of borderline quad A veteran type guy get brought in here. And that's a good thing.
Very good thing, yes. And again, Another thing that we talked about too about this whole ordeal is there's a lot of guys now that I think Pirates fans and listeners to this podcast may have forgot just even were on this team due to being on the injured list. Kevin Newman is still a guy. He's still here. Ben Gamble, still a guy, still here. Jake Marisnik, still a guy, still here. Greg Allen is also still here. You just saw Daniel Vogelbach come back off of the injured list, and I hate to mention this because I know it's going to really make people mad. Yoshi Tsutsugo is still here. Him and his $4 million contract. And at some point, the balance between those guys coming off the IL and who you send down and send up is going to start pretty soon. And then also, there's the rumor of Super 2 coming up pretty soon, so you already know what that entails. I think I've heard the name O'Neal Cruz and Mason Martin probably about 2,000 times in the last week and a half. But what kind of decisions does this team, or is this team going to have to make, and who do you think is going to stick out in terms of who stays up and who goes down?
I mean, it's probably too early to be guessing who's going to stay up, since a lot of them just got here.
Mm-hmm.
But, Heath Hembry is another guy that you can add into that list you just mentioned, and he's throwing off a mound now. I don't see a spot in the bullpen for him. Do you?
No.
Right.
No.
And Yoshi, $4 million be damned, man. I'm sorry. Where do you put him? Michael Chavis is more than capable there. I think Ben Gamble, when he comes back, is probably going to see some time at first base. Daniel Vogelbach can play a little first base if he has to. I just don't see it. I don't see a spot for him opening up magically whenever he's better. It's difficult though, like really, and that's the fun of it. We're having baseball talks. It's not necessarily like, yeah, it's super easy to get rid of this guy. You want an easy decision? Yu Chang. There you go. Yu Chang won't be here much longer, and it's just a matter of time for who it's going to be. Is it probably O'Neal Cruz? Yeah. Now, I don't think Mason Martin has anything to do with Super 2, to be blunt.
No.
I think they literally just want to see if the adjustments stick, and to be blunt, in his last week or so, or a couple weeks, they have not. So I think you'll find that that's the type of hitter he is. He's a wave hitter. I do think he'll get a shot, but I don't think there's any kind of urgency to it right now.
And there shouldn't be.
Yeah. O'Neal Cruz, on the other hand, he's probably coming up.
Yeah.
And he's probably coming up to play shortstop. And if you look at the outfield, I think that's probably what makes sense right now. They've got too many options already. You're not going to mix him into it. So he's probably going to play shortstop. That raises some questions about what you do with Kevin Newman when he's healthy. It's nuts. Greg Allen? They don't have any right-handed bats, man. You might want that. You might very well want him to come up because even the guys that aren't here yet are left-handed.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you're going to see a lot is you don't want to run into the same problem, to bring up another team that had this issue last year. You don't want to run into the Yankees problem. Now, I know me name dropping the Yankees is probably like, what the hell? Like, this is a Locked on Pirates podcast. But one of the things the Yankees struggled with so much last year, if you watched any baseball whatsoever, is they have a lot of good hitters. They do. Aaron Judge. But Aaron Judge stands out among all of them. What was their main issue, though? They had too many left-handed hitters. Or no, wait, hold on, backwards. They didn't have any left-handed hitters. Sorry, I was backwards on that. Because they had, the only left-handed hitter I believe they had was Gallo for most of the season. And when you construct a lineup like that, all on the same side, what's naturally going to happen? The other team says, oh, you have all righties? Cool, here's a righty. Oh, you have all lefties, like the Pirates pretty much do right now, outside of Reynolds, Hayes, and Chavis, if I'm not mistaken, right? Everybody else is a lefty in the lineup. Whenever they face a left-handed pitcher, good luck. I mean, you're going to really have to hope that Reynolds and Hayes and Chavis do everything for you, because Vogie against lefties isn't terrible, but he's not great. Sawinski and Mitchell against lefties look lost sometimes right now because, again, they're rookies. They're going to have to learn how to deal with this kind of stuff. So, yeah, when Greg Allen comes back, I mean, albeit he won't play every day, I don't think, but if they're facing a left-handed pitcher, how do you not put him in the lineup to at least get some advantage there?
I mean, I could see how they could not do it. It's basically just they make a decision that the kids are doing too well to mess with it. But, Ben Gamble needs a place to play. I don't see him being a guy that you just jettison. They need some veteran presence on this team. So, yeah. Sometimes, though, in baseball, and you know this very well, these things have a tendency to just sort themselves out.
Yep.
Injuries happen. Somebody underperforms badly. Somebody, like Castro was up here for, 3-4 weeks, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He struggled pretty badly, and it was a pretty easy decision for him to go down at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So you expect something like that again. And while Mitchell has looked okay, he's probably not the best outfielder, period.
No.
If the bat plays, he will, of course, but, how are you going to keep him up here over Jack Sawinski? You're not. So there's a lot of choices like that.
Especially when Jack Sawinski right now, as far as I remember, is leading National League rookies in home runs. I mean, You're not going to send that down. It doesn't matter what the average is. If he keeps putting it over the fence, you're not sending that down. Right. There's just no way. And that was another thing, too, that we'll get into here after the break that I wanted to bring up that I thought was a phenomenal conversation to have, considering there's a certain somebody that may actually implement himself into the Rookie of the Year conversation on the Pirates right now. But before we get into that, today's episode, of course, is brought to you by Athletic Greens. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things you need for a productive day. It's lifestyle friendly. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, and it costs you less than $3 a day. So you're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. Sorry about that. Anyways, right now it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/MLB Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So, I mentioned Rookie of the Year. Now, on betonline.ag, which is where I do my sports betting here on the Locked On Podcast Network, a certain somebody was ranked number 1 in that category betting-wise, and that was O'Neal Cruz. He was a 5-1 odds to win that award. Since his dropped, obviously. I would say right now Mackenzie Gore is probably the front runner based off of what we've seen from Mackenzie Gore. There's a certain pitcher that faced Mackenzie Gore this past week, or a week and a half ago. And Roansy Contreras. I really feel like, for some reason, with all this stuff going on, he has kind of got lost in the shuffle about talking about him a little bit, for whatever reason. But you look at what he's doing right now. At what point do we start saying, and again, small sample size, albeit. It's a very small sample size even still. But if he keeps doing this, at what point do we just start saying, okay, screw the small sample size, this is just who Roansy Contreras is?
I mean, I think this has kind of been who Roansy Contreras is. This is what he's done, really ever since being acquired. Mm-hmm. So I kind of already believe it. I think he shows no signs of slowing down. His stuff is repeatable. As long as he can place that slider where he wants to and that fastball where he wants to, I don't see any reason why guys would suddenly start cracking something that right now they can't touch. Um, yeah, is he like in contention? I think Mackenzie Gore has a little bit of a head start, and it would take an awful lot of doing to work your way into that conversation. It's hard sometimes for a pitcher to win that,
Mm-hmm.
so you would like to see if there's a bat that'll emerge. Unless the average comes up, that's not Jack Sawinski. He's going to have to hit a little bit more consistently. And I'm not saying that's outside of his realm of possibilities, but yeah, I think Mackenzie Gore probably has a lock on the pitching as long as he keeps pitching the way he is. I just don't think Rowanzi would ever be able to catch up to him. And the Pirates just don't run their starting pitchers in the same fashion as somebody like San Diego. So chances are the opportunity is not going to be there either.
Yeah, and I mean, you're looking at it right now for his regular season stats: 6 games, 1.93 ERA. But in those 6 games for a starter, again, remember Rowanzi came out of the bullpen to begin the year, which was arguably the stupidest thing they did all year. Just saying. I mean, some people liked it, some people didn't. I hated it.
I mean, Ethan, in all sincerity, he's never thrown more than 80 some innings.
No.
So he's not going to throw more than 100 some this year.
No, he's only at 23 and 1/3 right now, and I'm not
So,
expecting him to get over that number.
I have no issue with them starting him in the bullpen or slow walking how many innings he gets, or because I think they're trying to make him last the season and see how far they can push him. But you're not going to see them go 120, 140 innings with this kid. I just don't see that.
And you really don't want it to become a JT Brubaker situation from last year either, where, for all intents and purposes, he was playing very well last year. And Rowanzi obviously playing well now, but you don't want it to get to the point where you're like, yeah, go 7 innings every day, and then by the time we get to August, he's barely able to throw. And that also brings up the idea, too, about the improvement that this starting pitching has seen. One guy in particular, in Zach Thompson, who has actually looked a ton better lately. I can't remember over the past amount of games. I'll look it up while we're here. But over the past couple of days or starts he's had, Zach Thompson has looked a lot better. And I know you are a lot better at kind of analyzing the pitcher stuff than me. In terms of like what's changed, what's doing better in terms of command, like placement, all that stuff. But you look over his last 7 games, he's 3-1 with a 2.05 ERA, and of course 6 starts, 30 innings, and a 1.04 WHIP. That plays more than you would love it to. I mean that's great. So
exactly. No, he's done well, man. And I think one thing that gets scary when you start looking at starting pitching is you can get locked up in the game to game action. Like Brubaker stinks right now because his last outing wasn't good. But the 3 before that were really, really solid. Mitch Keller, everyone is kind of excited about because he muscled through 5 innings against LA. While walking 5 guys and tiptoeing through the raindrops to not get wet. You have to stop evaluating these guys on a game-by-game basis. It's more of the body of work. And once you start getting to the point where you have a body of work, 2-3 months into the season, it's a lot easier to kind of evaluate whether the guy's on the right track or the wrong track. Right now, I'd have to say all 5 of the starters. And I again, I don't do the numbering system, Ethan. I don't do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 starter.
No.
The starting pitchers right now, they're all on the right track. Does that mean they're all going to return next year as the same start? No. Does that mean they're all going to finish this year? No. It means right now, you have to like where they're at. Mm-hmm. They're all handing off winnable games to the bullpen. That's what you want.
And that bullpen, by the way, has been phenomenal, of course. We'll get into that after we talk about Bet Online. BetOnline.ag. Of course, I've mentioned BetOnline already. BetOnline is your number one source for all of your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments on news and odds, including this year's NBA Finals, the NHL Conference Finals, Major League Baseball, and, of course, all the latest fighting news from MMA and UFC to boxing. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. And of course, BetOnline is where the game starts. Something I have not brought up on this podcast yet was the phenomenal play of Mr. David Bednar, who was awarded 20 or 20 May. Hold on, May 2022 NL Reliever of the Month. There we go. Sorry, I was trying to get the actual stamp on it because I know I could have just said he was the best reliever last month, but it sounds better to say he was the May NL Reliever of the Month. And man, I'm going to go ahead and say this to everybody who listens to this podcast right now. Okay? Last 30 games, so that's last month. 1.33 ERA in 22 games, 27 innings pitched, 0.78 WHIP, 1.33 ERA. Insane control on the guy. If I forget what year he's free agent or when he stops ARB, but it's a while. We'll just say that. David Bednar, and as Gary said the last time he was on this show, when I said about trading bullpen pieces, David Bednar, Will Crow, and a lot of these bullpen pieces right now are under control for a while. Just because the Pirates might be bad around the trade deadline does not mean that they have to go and trade these guys for other stuff. And I get it. Starting pitching is more valuable sometimes than relief pitching. More than often than not. They are probably not trading David Bednar. Unless they get something that blows their socks off, like a top 100 prospect or something, they are not trading David Bednar. It's not going to happen. And
they have David Bednar through 2026.
Yeah, they're not trading that.
And I don't see it. I don't see them trading him. Not this year. It's certainly not something that a team that's at this point is going to do. They're about to open that window, and the classic argument is always, well, he's a closer, and you don't need a closer on a bad team. It's like having a Ferrari and living on a dirt road. I get it. But you also are starting to lock in pieces on a roster. And at some point, you have to stop jettisoning those players off. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that none of these young kids are going to get moved. They will. They're going to have to. Even the talk we just had about the outfield. There's more coming, bro. I mean, there's more coming. So at some point, somebody like a Cal Mitchell or even a Travis Swaggerty or maybe a Matt Frazier is going to end up getting moved for something else they need.
Yeah.
You're not going to move one of the few fixtures you have in the back end of that bullpen. That I will add, Derek Shelton is leaning on too heavily to actually secure some of these wins.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be throwing 50 pitches. He shouldn't be going multiple innings all the time when he's doing saves. And until they get a real Robin for that Batman, they're in trouble. Now, Chris Stratton started to pitch better recently, and that has made a difference, and it has changed the back end of that bullpen, and that's what they really need. They need something to help change the back end of that bullpen. They need to add to it, not subtract.
Yeah.
And the win total may not matter this year. But what are you saying to all those kids if you take away one of the major reasons they've actually been experiencing and tasting victory?
Mm-hmm.
You're saying, we don't care about that. You do not want to send that message.
No. And that's another thing about this player-centric style is Travis Swaggerty gets called up yesterday. This is how we'll wrap up today's show. And it didn't really seem like there was that much hype around it. And I saw you mention it in a tweet yesterday. I would scroll and find it, but I'm pretty sure you remember. I think people forget that Travis Swaggerty was a first-round pick. I really do.
I think they kind of do. I think he's kind of aged out a little bit
Yeah.
as far as that goes. The 2020 season was not kind to he or any prospect, really.
No.
He was in that draft group that arguably got banged by that the most. I mean, he had one season and then boom, you're sitting. And then he gets injured for an entire year right after it. And then all of a sudden he's injury prone because he got injured. Like, and I don't know that you can hold that to him fairly.
Mm-hmm.
You know that I'm not wowed about him as a prospect, and I have never really been wowed about his bat. But hey, he's still a first round pick.
Yeah.
And a pretty high one. We should probably be a little bit more, at least filled with expectation, than maybe somebody like a Cal Mitchell. That's a third round pick that comes up here, and if he pans out, great. But you don't want to miss on first round picks.
No.
We just kind of saw what happens when you miss on first round picks, right?
Yeah, they end up going
we?
back home.
Yeah, I
they
mean,
end up
Cole
going.
Tucker's now playing for the Danger Noodles. So now, will he ever make it up to the team? I don't know. Will he ever succeed? I don't know. But he's a first round pick that didn't pan out. That doesn't look good, and I don't care who the GM was.
Yeah, and I mean, you're also looking at another guy who's on the IL right now, Kevin Newman, another first-round pick. For all intents and purposes, he's not that great of a player, but he's been on the team for a while. I wouldn't call that a terrible pick. It was a bad pick.
He was, for where he was picked in the lower first round.
Yeah.
He's an okay pick.
Yeah.
He panned out. He made it to the major leagues. He's a Major League Baseball player. He will play in the major leagues for some team moving forward, even if it's a bench role.
Yeah.
And, let's be blunt. That's the destiny of an awful lot of first-round picks. It is. It's not every single one of them pans out. In fact, most don't.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you really look at the team construction and how difficult it is to put a team like this together. When you're doing it entirely through the draft or the international free agent system or picking up waiver claims, or it's not easy to do this. This is not a snap of the fingers. You can't just assume somebody's going to be something. Henry Davis is not automatically Buster Posey because he got picked 1-1. He might be. I certainly love what I see from him. I think the talent's there, but that doesn't mean he's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in Double-A and injured right now. We don't know what he's going to be.
See, while you were gone, the reason I bring Gary on this podcast, because I always like to be comedic while he's here, is usually he keeps me in check with the things I say, but he was gone this last week, and I was talking about said Henry Davis and said something that some people commented on and some people didn't. They just kind of took it as what it was. Personally, from what I've seen from him, the hour-and-a-half long highlight session that I watched of him at Louisville, I said that I think, and I'm going to stick to it, and if I'm wrong, the receipts are here multiple times. I think he has a chance and can be better than Adley Rutschman. I really do. That's just from what I've seen. Again, he's only gotten up to the Double-A level. But for what I've seen, I think when he fully taps into his potential, I think he has a chance to be better than Adley. And that's,
I mean, it's not even that outrageous of a statement right now because Adley's just getting started too.
Yeah.
So, again, you don't really know what you're gonna have until you've been up here a while. Like look at Detroit. They bring up their big guy, right? And he's struggling and struggling and things aren't coming together for him. They're going to keep pushing through and he's going to play. 3 years from now, chances are he's a very good, entrenched Major League Baseball player doing well. But is he a superstar? We just won't know for quite some time. You just won't. Look, Barry Bonds wasn't a superstar until like 1990. He was up here for 2.5 years before that happened. That's just the way it is, and people just need to understand that not everybody comes up here like Wander Franco and Bryce Harper and Steven Strasburg. those are rare birds, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not gonna catch that all the time. More often than not, you're gonna
Yep.
get players like Jack Sawinski, who you traded for, and he was in Double A, and he showed a little power, and you saw something, and you develop him, and then he comes up, and he develops more, and he keeps working and changing, and fighting back against the league, and turning himself into a pro. That's what this is all about, man. Like, as far as guessing, I don't do that a lot. I just look at the math. I look at the math on the catching position, and I see Henry Davis, Abraham Gutierrez, Andy Rodriguez, Carter Binns, and I think that's enough for me to say they're going to have a catcher. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I do it.
Yeah, and that's a great way to do it as well. So to cap off today's episode, Gary, I'll let you talk about everything you got going on all of your different platforms. But I saw a fun question that I wanted to ask you last week that I thought was great and kind of highlights how tough Major League Baseball is. Let's say, for fun purposes, you were on the Pittsburgh Pirates as a DH. You get the DH for 162 games. Do you get a hit at all the entire year?
Do I get a hit at all?
Yeah, do you get a base hit at the major league level across 162 games, DHing every single game?
I really doubt it. I really doubt it.
Yeah,
I'd like to think that I'd luck into one like Bob Walk, but
just like luck into one of them.
yeah, or maybe I lay down a bunt or something. But
It just surprise. Yeah, the third baseman's all the way at the third base bag. He lays down a bunt. There you go. No, but I saw some people. They were like, "Yeah, I'd probably get like 5 or 6." I said, "Man, when that 96-mile-per-hour sinker comes in on you in the inside, like right here, yeah, have fun saying that you're going to get any sort of hit." Or when that curveball starts up here and then goes down to your knees, yeah, man, trust me. I've did BP against a MLB pitcher or former MLB pitcher who was in his like 40s at this point, so it wasn't that crazy. He was still clocking in at 88
right,
with movement. Like it was like I was seeing like a freaking blur go past my body every single time he threw at me. But anyways, I figured we end that on a fun note. But what do you got going on all of your streams and everything that you got going on this week, Gary?
hey, 5 Pirates thoughts at 5 today. It's going to be a pretty extended one because last one was pretty short as I was on vacation. This one's going to definitely dig in on some stuff, so check that out. And Pirates Fan Forum, we're going to be live in the studio at 4 o'clock on Thursday, and then everything else is normal. The audio will premiere on Friday morning, and the video will premiere on YouTube at 8 o'clock on Friday. But if you want to stop by and see the live recording, you can certainly do that in the new DK Pittsburgh Sports Studios, downtown Pittsburgh, right near Market Square.
Oh, yeah, of course. And you guys already know we'll be coming at you with episodes all week. Pirates Tigers tomorrow, we'll be previewing that series as well as talking about some other stuff regarding Jose Quintana and some other things going on in the world of the Pittsburgh Pirates. But until then, guys, that's Gary Morgan. I'm Ethan Smith, your host who does the most, and I will see you on the flip side.